The most valuable asset you possess isn't in your bank account, your property, or your education, but in your mind. Napoleon Hill here. Today I'm revealing the fifth principle that has created more millionaires than perhaps any other, the transformative power of imagination. Look around you right now. Everything man-made that you see, from the room you're watching this in to the chair you're sitting on, began as nothing more than a thought in someone's imagination. Every fortune, every invention, every business empire started in exactly the same place your success will begin, in the workshop of the mind. The difference between the person who achieves greatness and the one who merely dreams of it is not talent, education, or luck. It's the ability to harness the creative force I'm about to show you. The most successful men and women I've studied across 25 years mastered this principle. Today you will too. Let's begin with the two powerful types of imagination at your disposal. Imagination works in two distinct ways, like two different tools in your mental workshop. First, there is synthetic imagination, which works like a skilled craftsman who takes existing materials, old wood, metal pieces, and fabric, and combines them in new and useful ways. This craftsman doesn't create the raw materials, but arranges them into something fresh and valuable. Second, there is creative imagination, which is like a radio receiver tuned to a special frequency. When properly attuned, it can receive ideas and inspiration from beyond your own knowledge and experience, what some might call the infinite intelligence. This is the source of truly original ideas. Let me explain synthetic imagination in a way that you can easily grasp. Imagine your mind as a kitchen. Synthetic imagination is like cooking a meal with ingredients you already have in your pantry. You may not have invented these ingredients, but by combining them in new proportions and methods, you create something that wasn't there before. A good chef doesn't need to invent new foods to create a memorable meal. Similarly, synthetic imagination doesn't create new elements, but arranges existing knowledge in new, useful combinations. Consider the telephone. It didn't emerge from nothing. It combined existing principles of electricity and sound transmission. Yet this new combination revolutionized human communication in ways that continue to evolve. Think of how a quilt maker takes scraps of existing cloth and arranges them into a beautiful pattern never seen before. The material isn't new, but the arrangement creates something of value and beauty. Many of the great fortunes have been made not by creating something entirely new, but by improving upon or reorganizing that which already exists. The man who first thought to place a small engine on a bicycle created the motorcycle. He didn't invent the engine, nor did he invent the bicycle, but his imagination combined these existing elements in a new way that created value. Now, creative imagination is something quite different. Creative imagination is like a deep well that reaches down to underground springs that no one else has tapped. When you draw from this well, you bring up something entirely new to human experience. It's similar to the difference between echo and voice. Synthetic imagination echoes what already exists, while creative imagination speaks with a voice never before heard. Think of creative imagination as being like a dream, where you suddenly understand something that has puzzled humanity for generations. The solution comes not from logical steps, but appears whole and complete in your mind. It's like the difference between following a map to a known destination and discovering an entirely new land that no map has ever shown. This discovery doesn't come from carefully plotting a course, but from a flash of insight that reveals what was previously invisible. The great spiritual leaders throughout history have tapped into creative imagination to bring forth revelations. The greatest inventors have accessed it to conceive of things that had no precedent. It is through this faculty that humanity has made its greatest leaps forward. Now you might be thinking, this all sounds very fine, Mr. Hill, but what practical value does imagination have in my daily life? Let me answer with this. Imagination is to achievement what the foundation is to a house. Without it, nothing substantial can be built. Your imagination is like the rudder of a ship. Though small compared to the vessel itself, it determines the entire direction of your journey. The person without imagination is like a ship without a rudder, drifting wherever the currents of circumstance may take them. In the world of business, imagination is the difference between the shopkeeper who merely stocks shelves and the merchant who creates an experience that draws customers for miles around. Both may sell the same goods, but one merely conducts transactions while the other creates something memorable. Consider the automobile. When first introduced, it was a curiosity, a luxury for the wealthy. But when Henry Ford applied his imagination to this invention, he didn't ask, "How can I make a better automobile?" Instead, he asked, "How can I make an automobile that every working person can afford?" This shift in imagination led to the assembly line, mass production, and transformed not just an industry, but society itself. Like a muscle that grows stronger with exercise, imagination develops with use. And like a muscle, it atrophies when neglected. Here are some practical methods to strengthen your imagination. Mind wandering with purpose. Set aside time each day for your mind to wander freely, but with a purpose in mind. It's like taking your mind for a walk without a fixed route, but with a destination in mind. You'll be surprised where it leads you. Cross-pollination of ideas. Just as a bee carries pollen from one flower to another, creating new life, expose yourself to ideas from fields different from your own. If you're in business, study art. If you're an artist, study science. This cross-pollination creates fertile ground for new ideas. The questioning habit. Develop the habit of asking, what if, about everyday situations? What if this process were reversed? What if we combined these two unlike things? It's like trying different keys in a lock until you find the one that opens the door to new possibilities. Visualization practice. Spend time each day visualizing your goals as already accomplished. See them with the same clarity as you see the physical objects around you. This is like creating a mental prototype of what you intend to build in reality. I once met a businessman who kept a special notebook with him at all times. Whenever an idea came to him, no matter where he was or what he was doing, he would immediately write it down. Ideas are like butterflies, he told me. Beautiful, valuable, but quick to fly away if not captured. This simple habit helped him build a manufacturing empire worth millions. Imagination without desire is like an engine without fuel. It may be powerful, but it goes nowhere. Conversely, desire without imagination is like fuel without an engine. It has energy, but no means to convert it into motion. Your imagination and desire should work together like a team of horses pulling in the same direction. When properly harnessed together, they can transport you to heights of achievement beyond your wildest dreams. Think of desire as the heat that transforms the raw material of imagination into something useful, just as fire transforms iron ore into tools and machines. One without the other produces nothing of value. I have interviewed many people who claim to desire wealth, yet when I asked them to describe exactly what they intended to do to earn this wealth, they had no answer. They had desire without imagination. Equally, I have met brilliant people with wonderful ideas who never translate those ideas into action because they lack the burning desire necessary to overcome obstacles. They have imagination without desire. The most successful people have both, the imagination to conceive of valuable ideas and the desire to bring them into reality. Now I must share an important warning. Your imagination is neutral. It can work either for you or against you. Fear is nothing more than misused imagination. It's like using a fine chisel not to carve a masterpiece, but to dig a hole in which to bury your talents. Many people use their magnificent gift of imagination to construct elaborate scenarios of failure and disaster, mental motion pictures of everything that could go wrong. This is like using a fertile field to grow weeds instead of wheat. When you feel fear rising within you, recognize it for what it is, imagination working in reverse. Then consciously redirect that same mental energy toward visualizing the outcome you desire rather than the one you dread. Consider two salesmen preparing for an important meeting. The first imagines all that could go wrong, stumbling over words, facing rejection, losing the sale. The second imagines success, speaking confidently, answering objections with ease, closing the deal. Which do you think is more likely to succeed? Their skills may be identical, but their use of imagination will determine their results. Let me give you some practical examples of how imagination can be applied to everyday business. The restaurant owner. A restaurateur in a crowded market doesn't compete merely on the quality of food. Instead, he uses imagination to create a unique dining experience, perhaps themed around an exotic locale or historical period. Customers come not just for a meal, but for an experience they can't get elsewhere. The real estate developer. Instead of simply building houses, he envisions complete communities where people can live, work, and play without lengthy commutes. By imagining what would make life more convenient and pleasant for residents, he creates properties that command premium prices. The manufacturer. Rather than producing items identical to competitors, he constantly asks, how could this product better serve the customer? This imaginative approach leads to innovations that distinguish his offerings in the marketplace. The retailer. Instead of viewing his store as merely a place to stock and sell merchandise, he imagines it as theater, with the products as props, the staff as performers, and the customers as an audience, to be delighted and amazed. This transforms shopping from a chore into an adventure. In each case, imagination transforms an ordinary business into an extraordinary one. The difference is not in the physical assets, but in the mental approach. In a world where capital, materials, and information are widely available, your most valuable competitive advantage is your imagination. It is the one resource that cannot be purchased, copied, or stolen. It is uniquely yours. Like a farmer with fertile land, you must cultivate this resource diligently. Many people allow their imagination to lie fallow, producing nothing of value, or worse, they allow weeds of negative thinking to overrun it. The successful person treats imagination as their most precious asset. They feed it with knowledge, exercise it with challenges, and direct it toward productive ends. When faced with a problem, most people ask, has this been solved before? What is the standard approach? The person of imagination asks instead, how might this problem be solved in an entirely new way? What approach has never been tried? This is why identical circumstances produce such different outcomes for different people. Where one sees an insurmountable obstacle, another sees an opportunity waiting to be seized. The difference is not in what they look at, but in what they see, and this is determined by imagination. As we conclude today's lesson, remember this. Every human creation first existed in someone's imagination before it existed in reality. The clothes you wear, the chair you sit in, the building that shelters you, all began as thoughts before they became things. Your imagination is the preview of life's coming attractions. Use it wisely, nurture it carefully, and direct it purposefully. Imagination is like a magic lamp. When rubbed with attention and intention, it produces wonders beyond belief. But unlike the fables, the magic of imagination is real, and its power is available to all who learn to use it. In our next video, we will explore the sixth principle of success, organized planning. We will learn how to translate the products of your imagination into concrete action steps that lead to achievements. Remember, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve, and conception begins with imagination.